Ladies and gents, boys and girls, we've got a special guest all the way from the valleys, Lee Werritt. How are you doing today? You okay?
How are you, Rob? Okay.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Now, obviously, you're a Welsh boy. Talk to me about the restrictions in Wales regarding fishing, because obviously it's a little bit tougher than in England, isn't it? What can you and can't you do?
Uh, Not a lot, really. You're not allowed to drive like you are locally to go fishing, pleasure fishing, of course, at the minute.
Yeah.
We have to walk if we want to go. We're allowed to fish, but if we want to go fishing, we have to walk from my house basically to your local. You know, if you're lucky enough to have anything near you, and you have to walk back. So it's basically around here. That's not a very good idea in any case.
No.
Where
No.
I am, it's not a very affluent area, if for want of a better word. But walking would probably take me an hour to get to my nearest place in any case to fish. So basically, it's a no-no.
Right. Okay. So no fishing for you, just prep at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your life in fishing, what your plans are, your results that you've had in the past, your hopes for the future, all of that. We're just obviously getting to know all the guys at the minute. Now, obviously, Lee's Wi-Fi isn't the best in the world, but the sound's great. So obviously, if anyone's watching, listening, put your headphones in, listen to it. Obviously, you might learn something about Lee. You might learn something about fishing. If not, hopefully, it's an enjoyable little listen. So I want to find out, Lee, how you started fishing. Was it your standard sort of dad and lad thing, or was it you went with mates? Was it down the local brook? When did you start and how did it start for you?
I think it was about 5 years old, I think, when I went with my dad and my granddad and just fish a local sort of like little lake down the road full of big tench and crucians. Other lakes around us, they had lots of big skimmers, lots of big roach. Very good venue. It was quite a well-used lake as well.
Okay, this is in Wales, is it?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not going to be your big weights sort of venue where people are used to now. But you had a decent day's fishing. It was good. It was all sort of like waggler fishing. It was hardly any poles about then when I was a youngster. Swing tips were really good.
Right.
And then it just progressed from there. Started going with my mates as well. Little lakes up around us, lots of perch, and we used to have like tiny competitions between us all. We catch the most perch. Maybe catching anything. I'm not joking. I mind anything up to like 200 perch.
What, little perch or decent sized perch?
No, tiny ones. Little 4-inch long.
Yeah.
Brilliant fishing. You never even there. You know what I mean? And if you were lucky to have enough money to go and buy some maggots, you'd use some maggots. Otherwise, you'd be kicking the old cow down over and getting some worms and sort of like leather jackets.
Right.
And fishing for perch and maybe the odd roach,
Okay.
But yeah, that was sort of like the formative years of fishing.
Okay, so
sort of like
without giving away your age, sort of like, what are we talking? Are we talking you were like 8, 6, 10? What are we talking?
Probably when I started going with the lads, sort of like 9 or 10, just sort of like half a mile away up the local pond, sort of thing,
Yeah.
And they were brilliant days, absolutely brilliant, And like you say, you'd have those little competitions, you'd have those little things, and then perhaps the odd roach would get caught as well, and decent roach, probably like a 12-ouncer, which was big to us in those days when you're catching little tiny perch.
Beautiful.
And it's great fun. Absolutely great fun. And that's where you actually learn sort of like your watercrafts and the things in your surroundings and what's going on around you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Brilliant.
We've just been talking off camera about my son's really their addiction to their games consoles and how it's so hard to get them off it. And I actually took him just down the local canal yesterday just for, I don't know, I just took him down there just to catch him a few fish on a little lure rod. And he was fantastic. He'd really got it for like 5 or 10 minutes and then his concentration just disappeared. and he was all over the place. Couldn't concentrate, and that's all because of his game consoles. And but I suppose that's modern world, isn't it? The world that probably you and me grew up in is totally different to what it is now.
Well, if you were lucky to have something like that, sort of like at a young age, like most children are now, I think you were pretty lucky, to be honest with you. I mean, where I grew up, it was quite a normal sort of like childhood for me. Was out playing in the streets, playing cricket or football or whatever you wanted to do, sort of thing. Maybe a little bit of fishing to go with it as well. Never had the luxuries of what young children got these days now.
No, nothing. But it's good. I suppose it's good. They've got all these luxuries. It's good. So, did you carry on fishing through like your teens and then start match fishing, or did you have the gap away to chase some women, or what did you do?
Bit of both, really. I played rugby at quite a high level as well, and from sort of like the age of sort of 16, I would say, up to about the age of 21, it was all rugby. Rugby took over for quite a while. And you do miss fishing, and you sort of like something, I can't recall what it was, but obviously something sparked me into going back fishing. Started going with a group of lads who were traveling further fields to where sort of like we were fishing. Maybe jumped on a minibus with a trailer, that kind of thing on a Sunday morning, and off you go for the day, and usually end up in the pub as well, on the way back. Sort of got you into that sort of camaraderie of fishing then, if one of the and I think bonds are made like that. You pick up with people along the way who sort of like join in with your club, and and people like that become friends for life. You invariably end up fishing sort of like all the way through. Even to now, I fish with people that I've met through sort of club fishing, through them going on, even like anglers they've become. I never had that luxury, obviously, but people you go fishing with them regularly. If you're traveling together, you learn obviously together, don't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So people that you pick up with along the way, I think as long as you sort of like got the same years thing, that stays together, isn't it?
Yeah. So do you when you were obviously playing rugby then, did you just call an end to your rugby at sort of like 21, or was rugby still happening and fishing was like the release away from the rugby?
Yeah. I probably finished playing rugby when I was about 25, 26. One of the reasons that I stopped playing rugby basically was because up until the age of 21, I was fine. And at 21, I started getting asthma, which meant that training was becoming even more difficult. Breathing was getting harder and harder. And eventually I had to stop because asthma got so bad that I couldn't do rugby anymore. That's what it sort of ends up. About 25, 26, and then fishing sort of a bit more then, and started getting a little bit more serious into it. 25 years later, I think I've done a decent job of it, in all fairness, to be honest with
you. Yeah. So your match fishing, when did that start? Did that start after your rugby to fulfill that competitive edge? Or was it a bit of a progression? Did it take a bit longer?
I was still playing rugby when I first started sort of club fishing, and used to go to some wonderful waters, where it was ridiculous weights. And then you go, like you say, have a nice evening in the pub, perhaps you'd be having a game of cards. But then it just level where you thought club fishing isn't for me anymore. I need to sort of like broach out and go and see what I can do in the real world, sort of thing. And it's a harsh environment, as you know yourself. It's hard to learn. You pay to learn as well, don't you?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah,
you know that. It's travel the country for years and years and years in search of glory. Fishermania, UK champs.
Yeah, because obviously I've seen you. I've seen you at Whiteacres. I've seen you on UK champs.
Yeah.
You know, all that sort of commercial scene, and it's not an easy circuit, and especially if you're doing it, putting in the long hours in, traveling to venues you don't know so well, it's tricky.
I think I saw something of you at Hillview recently.
Yeah, I was at. I've done a couple of articles at Hillview in the past. Fantastic venue, but I've never fished a match there.
Yeah, well, that's where we sort of, myself and you know Andy Neal, obviously.
Yeah.
Andy Neal and myself travel together, and that's where we sort of progressed from sort of like that sort of like social event of fishing, maybe a Sunday and a Wednesday, to sort of like cutting your teeth on a commercial fishery, learning loads on a commercial. We sort of those formative years of commercial fishing. That's where we learned a lot, and then obviously moved on to bigger things. I think we moved to Manor Farm in Evesham after sort of like Hillview, and then after Manor Farm, I think it was Viaduct in Somerset.
Okay.
Went there for 8 or 9 years, maybe 10 years, sort of thing.
Right. So are you still going to these sort of venues?
Yeah.
These venues they're still popular venues now, even now. Manor Farm's obviously doing well. I see quite a lot of Manor Farm on social media. Obviously Viaduct, that was a UK champs venue for quite a while, and some Fishermania venues, Hillview, obviously a really good open scene. So, you know, what are your sort of stamping grounds now? Where are you sort of going now?
Like I said, I've done a lot of Western pools the last few years, up in Oswestry. Different kind of fishing again. There's barbel involved. Not so much now as there was when I first started to go, never mind. Stafford Moor, I do a lot at this is sort of like from the springtime, sort of like up to autumn time. During the winter time, just down the road or down White Springs in Swansea. Back a few years ago, we used to go to Tunnel Barn when we were fishing, you know, to try and qualify for the Angling Times Winter League. And that was very good. And I learned a lot at Tunnel Barn. Again, it's a venue you have to go to regularly to be in tune with.
Yeah, you've got to pay to learn, haven't you? You've got to keep putting your pools money in and paying.
100%. And what you've got to remember as well, Steve Bob, is all these places are all 100 miles plus from me one way. You know what I mean? Like Tunnel Barn is 105 mile, I think it is for me. Hillview is 59 mile, I think it is, Hillview. Right. You know what I mean? If you're going to Evesham, you're talking 80 mile. So Viaduct is 90 odd mile. Somerset is, you know, Stafford Moor is 135 mile away. You know what I mean? And I'm going down there maybe 2-3 times a month. You know, so you have to be up on your prep, and you have to be all over it to travel away and get results at these venues.
Right. So talking about results, what have been sort of your standout results? Just give me like 2 or 3 sort of standout results. Because obviously I used to see at Whiteacres a lot. I always used to see like you were top 20, consistent top 20 guy all the time. Obviously I'd see you on UK champs and you'd always be up there or thereabouts. What sort of like, for you, it doesn't need to be really a massive well-known match, but just for you, what would you say? I'm really pleased myself with that result.
Probably becoming Welsh national champion in 2018, probably.
Right.
Born out of a lot of hard work. Again, traveling 200 plus miles on a weekend, on a Sunday, every week practicing for the national, because they used to have the national there. And I think they had it there for like 3 or 4 years on the bounce.
Yeah.
And it was a contentious issue with the Welsh national. It was like north and south. So like for 3 or 4 years they had it in the north, and now they're having it in the south for 3 or 4 years. Finding venues that are big enough to take all the teams that are fishing obviously on a commercial. It's a bit different in England, where they have like 4 divisions or 5 divisions now?
I think the division system, think there's only 2 divisions now, but they used to have like obviously 4 or 5 divisions, but I think there's 2 now, I'm sure.
Yeah. And obviously it's not as big as in England, obviously, but it's still a prestigious event to win, and one that I'm very, very proud of, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
A couple of my mates have been Welsh national champion as well, and you know, it's a fantastic accolade, I think, to...
what venue was it held on?
Western Pools.
Okay, then. So obviously a venue that you knew at the time, was it? Or was it one that you had to put some effort into?
Yeah, we put a lot of work into it. We were fishing the open matches regularly there. The fish fight so hard there. It's cruel on your gear. It really is. You can't fish light there at all. You have to fish, you know, proper gear to these carp and barbel. I think barbel up to like almost double figures caught this sometimes. So it's they fight immensely hard.
Right.
But we did a lot of miles every weekend, just to practice, you know.
Obviously,
really, as a team, we did it a lot.
Obviously, it all paid off in the end for you. Anyway, it paid off, didn't it?
Yeah, on the team, we won it.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
Boys as well.
Right, brilliant.
We were lucky enough to be invited to join Shakespeare about 5 years ago. So Shakespeare Super Team. So I'm still to this day part of the Super Team. So I know it's under Cadence now. Not Shakespeare anymore, but yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, perfect. Because obviously they're a fantastic team as well. Travelling, there's some rounds at Tunner Barn Farm, and they fish the Winter League, don't they?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
He was fishing like quite a few of the Welsh lads, and then there was a few sort of like lads like Mark Taylor, Aidan Mansfield, you know, lads that fish Tunnel Barn regularly. Yeah, brilliant anglers, and you learn off those as well. As you know, if you can't learn off people like that, there's something wrong.
No, I think whenever you get the chance to talk to or listen to a top angler, you've got to spend the time with them, because you can always pick up one little thing and it'll just help you fishing a little bit. You know, whether that's actually on the bank or YouTube or whatever it is, spend the time listening to them, because one little thing might just win you your next match. What is your, before we leave it, what is your sort of like goal for this year? What venues are you going to this year, when obviously you can get back out again?
That is the goal, just to get back out at the minute. Just get back out, enjoy my fishing again as usual. Like I said, we've got a couple of events coming up with MIDI this year. The juniors, up in the juniors out, and hopefully that'll be a very successful day, and hopefully it'll encourage more juniors to come and play their trade with fishing, you know, rather than be on an Xbox stuck in their bedroom all day.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think there's nothing worse than that.
No. Okay. So you're going to go to your normal venues, Western, Stafford Moor. Hopefully you can get out there fishing. But when has the Welsh government sort of said?
Well, they're hoping to relax the sort of like stay-at-home sort of banner in 3 weeks' time.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be able to drive to do a bit of fishing.
So what have you been doing then? Have you just been preparing gear? What have you been doing then? Lockdown?
Yeah, doing a bit of prep, tying hooks. I'm always tying hooks. Always tying hooks. Always messing about with elastics, trying different elastics. I mean, at one time there was a big phase of doubled up elastics. I went through all that, and I've come to the conclusion you're better off just sticking with.
What is it? Is it you put through your pole then? Do you use like a react core or like the old shot core? What is it?
Yeah, no, I use funnily enough, during the winter, I still use the shock core. You see
Hold
that?
him up. Yeah.
I still use that because I think the stretch power of that is just phenomenal.
Right.
And like sort of like during the warmer months, it's the reactor core.
Yeah, beautiful. That reactor core is a beautiful elastic.
Yeah. No, normally like for a smaller carp up to say £6, that's what I'll use, 14 to 18. For the bigger carp, it's 20 to 24. I mean, I know it says a rate of 20 to 24, but you know yourself, it's not.
Yeah, it's softer than that, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
definitely.
It's fantastic. So it's absolutely fantastic.
Mm.
It's very, very soft on the strike, but it powers up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, changed all elastics in all my tops. Washed all my pole kits down. Washed all my pole down.
So basically, you're raring to go.
Oh, mate, I can't wait. Can't wait.
Right. Okay.
I'm really looking forward to going.
Right. Well, hopefully you can get out soon. Before your Wi-Fi sounds like it's going to explode, we'll catch up with you again, probably later in the year, see how you're getting on.
Okay. Yeah.
And hopefully you can get out fishing soon. Hopefully catch a few fish.
Yes, hopefully, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot for that.
Good. Rob, it's been great to see you, mate.